very much, Kristen, and absolutely mind-blowing performance there, highlighting some incredible conversations that I'm sure we're already having here at the summit. Our challenge, I guess, is to see how we can make AI nutritious and helpful to humanity against such a complex background. So, from people to the planet, it's a real pleasure to introduce the head of Google DeepMind Impact Accelerator, talking on the future of climate action. Please help me extend a warm welcome to Koivuniemi.
Hello everyone. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to be in front of such a huge group of people who care about the planet. Listen. I'm Anna, and I lead Google DeepMind Impact Accelerator. Our work is to look at the technologies and expertise we have and see how we can accelerate social impact of them. And it includes climate, which I'm going to talk to you about today. Far from being pessimist, I consider myself a responsible optimist. And I hope today I can demonstrate to you that AI can make a meaningful difference and help us to scale our efforts also in climate. Let me start with this one. It's a Google DeepMind's mission statement, and it has 3 parts. What do? We build AI. Some of you may know about it. We've done it over a decade. The second part is how do we do it? We do it responsibly, and we have done this from the beginning. Looking at every stage of the development and deployment, what is the right way to get the technology out there that it has a maximum benefits, but it's safely and responsibly to the hand of users. And the last part is why we do it, which is benefiting humanity. It means every one of us. Build AI responsibly to benefit humanity. That's what we are here to do. And each of you and each of us as individuals can do a lot. But with AI, bringing the power of 10, we can actually do much more. So let me start you by a quick story. When I was a teenager in North Finland, I was working in Zoom. It was a research Zoom. And my role was growing great capture trees. These are the round cute birds from here. And the idea was to grow a lot of them to get back to the nature so we can regenerate the whole population of them. And great capture trees are cute little birds, but they make 22 eggs. So that's a lot for the parent to recover. And my role was to help that the maximum out of them will grow and get. By a learned halfway, not to get too attached to those small little birds. For my first family, almost every single one died. That was because of the focus. They did a very fast job to every single little bird we put out there. Now we started to talk about how we can save these birds. And my role was every day, multiple times a day, I was 15, to throw a fork figure over them, so that the parents could teach them to hide and go away when the shadow of the bird approached. Now, this pattern recognition, this learning, which as we human we learn, and as we have now teach specialists to learn, help them to survive. I might have helped hunters, maybe thousands of birds to survive, to rejuvenate the population in North Finland. When I joined Google DeepMind, I met this fantastic group of researchers who are actually saving millions of birds, maybe the whole populations. The birds travel long distances, and they don't use passports, so we don't know typically where they are and when they go. And climate change is changing their patterns. They travel different destinations, they travel different times. And there is a whole lot of researchers trying to understand where these birds are going in order to preserve them. And they do it, for example, in a way of listening techniques, listening recordings from the forest. I met our colleague Tom, who was just left after the that this researcher told Tom that he used to listen hours and hours of recordings of the voice. He said, listening to 4-hour recording, you need to do it again and again and again to try to identify that single word out of the recordings which have insects, which have other things in their recordings. And that's why when AI came, Tom and his team developed a machine which can separate each individual song of the tape. And this researcher told Tom, now I can make this in seconds. This is what we call science at the digital speed. And we hope that this kind of technologies will help the researchers who are doing important work to pursue birds to save millions of populations. Now, I was asked to show the concrete examples how science and AI have helped the science of climate. And I'm going to do it by sharing you the 3 topics we've been working last year, and showing them as an inspiration to you to think about what else can we do. I'm going to talk about monitoring, so weather predictions. I'm going to talk about changing our power system, optimizing power grids, and I'm going to talk about mitigating and adapting to the future by biological molecular systems. Let's start with the weather. Now, I understood that in the audience there are some amazing weather scientists who know much better than me that weather is actually a dream of human science that we were able to create. It's extremely complex. We developed huge amount of data from satellites, from planes, from oceans, from weather balloons, from land. And then we could predict some of the data because you actually cannot always collect them with the models. And then you need to model. And you need to model to get the signal number, average temperature, or likelihood of rain, what we are interested in. And you need to do it for days, for hours, for weeks, and weeks ahead. And you need to do it for in this neighborhood, and the city, and the region. So there's a lot of calculations and modeling going on. And it's also not so easy to get it right. Weather is so-called chaotic system, which means that when the first models or assumptions something change, the whole outcome may change, and you need to start the model. So you can imagine that it takes a huge amount of time and compute and complex calculation and these fantastic experts to get somewhere. Now we might be more interested in what we're going to wear today. Is it going to rain in Geneva or not? We hope enough to not. But actually there are much more important cases there. Extreme weather events like floods or forest fires are today a reality. Predicting them better may save lives. Last year we took up this challenge to look at the historical weather forecast over the decades. It was almost a film of what weather has been and what predictions have been. And we trained a model to make predictions. And we launched it to everybody to use last day before Christmas, and it's called Craftcast. And Craftcast is predicting weather coming 10 days, much more faster and much more accurately than many other systems. This means that with Craftcast we can do early warnings. And it was put in practice last October when Hurricane Lee was approaching America. And it was not very sure where Hurricane Lee was going. There was multiple scenarios where it lands. Craftcast predicted Hurricane Lee landing in Nova Scotia 9 days in advance. Traditional methods did it 3 days later. Now 3 days. Imagine what you can do in preparing this kind of extreme weather. You can evacuate people, you can prepare sensitive infrastructure, you can think about how do you supply help. And we are using Craftcast prediction also to predicting floods. There is a study with Google out there which I recommend to see because it has been used now by 80 governments. Now I'm not saying that AI is replacing all the weather forecasts because there's still a lot to do, but it can do a lot. Similarly to weather, actually, power grids is a decade-old problem. It was 1962 when the theory of optimal power flow, OPF, came to the world. And the theory and the science was, we need to think about which generators produce what in order to supply the demand, and in most cases then in most economical way. Now, generating too much power is complex because it goes to waste until we have enough batteries to save it, but also generating too little is an issue because we will have power shortages. And it sounds simple, but it's actually similar to an extremely complex mathematical problem. And the challenge we took is seeing how AI can help. And a few months ago, the team of our researchers released a synthetic database model on OPF. Now, why this matters, especially on climate change, this looks like a super simple picture of power models, power infrastructure, but it really is much more complex. There is multiple generators, they have technical lines, the lines have certain technical capabilities, how they can carry electricity, and so on. And when we shared our model with some of the grid operators, they came up with a story which made me realize why this is important for climate change. They said, and they have had these OPF models for decades, they said in the past, we used to predict maybe 1 hour a day. And, it's seasonal, so that when the winter goes, the heaters go up, and that the electricity piece comes up when people come home. And of course, there were more complexities, but he said it was a relatively predictable job. Now with the electrification, every day is different. People charge their EVs, there's much more electrical heating equipment, and so on, and every day has own types of peaks. So instead of single peak, which is seasonal, we need to know how to predict and how to model multiple peaks. And it's not only that, it's also the renewables. Because if suddenly wind stops blowing or sun sets down, the supply will go down. And there are not single large coal plant which is providing the supply in this big line, but there's hundreds of them. So he told us that the time he stopped modeling, the conditions already changed. Now, our model, which is synthetic data, but it is almost optimal in comparison to the real-life models, but it does these calculations hundreds to thousands times faster. Imagine how many different modelings and scenarios you can build if you can make them so much more faster. You can imagine that we are working hard to get the real-life data and model to make this work in real life, but also see where else the optimization problems in the grid can work, because they are also relevant to think about how do we raise batteries. Now lastly, let's talk about real science and how AI can develop biological systems that can help us to mitigate and adapt to the climate change. Earlier, the speaker already mentioned about AlphaFold, and we were here last year to talk about AlphaFold, which is basically AI technology helping us to understand the protein structures, the complex structures you see in the screen. A couple of weeks ago, we launched a new version of AlphaFold, which doesn't only tell the protein structure, but also how it interacts with RNA, DNA, and small molecules called enzymes. I was talking to John, who is a researcher in Portsmouth University, and we were together in the panel a couple of weeks back. And John told me a story, which I think is very relevant to share, and their thoughts. He said, Anna, we've been looking at enzymes, the small molecules, and how they fit to the protein, to understand how we could break plastic. And I was just about to apply funds to get the new research ongoing, which would have taken probably from my team months, maybe years to figure out right enzymes. And now with AlphaFold 3, I can do it in minutes. I can customize my own proteins and enzymes to figure out what is the right batch. Now again, John and team has a lot of work to do to make it scalable in the industrial scale and make it find the right enzymes to really break hard the pure plastic. But these kind of examples, which I every quarter read from my impact reports, of scientists, 1.8 million of them using AlphaFold, and some part of them using it
to find biological machines to help us to tackle climate change. This gives me hope that AI can really enhance and scale our capabilities. Now, I hope these 3 examples that give you ideas that AI can benefit humanity when deployed in right places. And often I get the question, well, so what? How can we do more of it? How can we replace in much more different situations? There are a lot that needs to be happening, but let me discuss about the 3 things what we keep tackling and facing every time, which is data, capabilities, and responsible collaboration. Starting with the data, like in every science, it starts with the data. And we could have not fixed weather modeling or developed AI if there would have not been the data we as humans have been collected. There was 170,000 proteins already available in folders which we leveraged. Now in climate, there is a lot of data already available, and there are great platforms like Data Commons, which is working together with the UN to share it to maximum amount of people. But to our surprise, the real climate action, we are also lacking more of data. Or it is not shared, or it is not in the format that machines can use, or it's not presentable for the problem we're trying to solve. Not all data is actually good data. So we started to work roughly a year ago together with the climate change AI to understand what kind of data would be useful. And we are collecting, and we are soon to be announced, a dataset wishlist, which has a list of type of data that is there in order that every machine learning specialist can use it and develop further applications to address climate change, but also to talk about the gaps and list the data what we need and the use case we can use it to encourage the discussion, how can we make that data useful? For example, at Google we have some great predictions on forest fires, and they are good. But in forest fires, we don't have the data about the soil moisture or so-called the moisture of what is burning. And if we would have, those models would be even better. So stay tuned. We're going to launch it and hopefully collect a lot of feedback and get a lot of action to think about what kind of data we can collect to have even more action on climate change. But data alone is not enough if we don't have the capabilities to use it. And there is amazing AI engineers, hopefully many in this room, but the bench of the ones who understand AI and climate is not big enough. And there are a lot of climate scientists, and I hope many in this room, who don't yet have a good understanding how machine learning can help us to address climate change. So what we do in Google DeepMind is that we have some programs to help people learn about machine learning, and especially making sure that AI is developed by everyone, to let it benefit by everyone. And one of these programs we have is that we take diverse background scientists, and we have our AI scientists to mentor them, and we support them to finalize their research. Julia is one of them. Julia is doing a PhD on climate change and how AI can help it, and specifically she's doing that on snow. Now, some of you might think about why snow is relevant. I come from Finland, and I said that we have 40 words for snow. I heard a rumor that Scottish have 400 words for snow, so if there's any Scot in the room, please clarify that to me. Every single snowflake is different. And if we can categorize them, which in the past has been done manually, we maybe can understand a little bit better when and how it's melting, for example in Antarctica. So that's Julia's up to do, and we need much more Julias in this world to make sure that we have diverse set of people to develop technologies that can help us to scale our efforts in climate change. And the final piece, and a very important piece, like also earlier speaker already emphasized, is responsible collaboration. Now this will look very different from every single organization, but how we have approached it from the very beginning has multiple layers. I'll try to explain them by one. First of all, every time we develop a model or start to even discuss about it, we have a special experts in-house, responsibility experts, who help us think about it, how are we going to evaluate the model, how are we going to benchmark it, and they are also actively develop those practices so that we can think about the responsible deployment. We also are strong believers and have been doing that for decades about cross-functional collaboration. So we have red teams that are not only the scientists, but also are responsible researchers, ethics people, people from IT, people from communication, who are going to understand and try to understand what are the potential downsides, what are the risks to every technology we are deploying and developing. And we do also understand that we are not experts for everything. We are not experts of climate change, we are not experts of protein coding. So therefore we are using a lot of external experts. So for example, for AlphaFold, we talked to 50 Nobel-level laureates and world-leading experts to understand what is the benefit versus downside to put the technology out there. We don't do this only for today. We know that these technologies are developing in a huge speed, and there are some procedures and thoughts we need to put in place and develop today to be ready. We have people who are researching futurists and looking at the ethics of AI. Already in 2021, we came up with a paper on risks of LLM to create the language how we can talk about it and how we as a community can actually think about evaluating and measuring and addressing those. And we work together with our other parties, the fellow travelers in the industry. For example, in Frontier Model Forum, which is developing the research but also measures for the future models, the most powerful models. And lastly, we do understand that we cannot just as an ecosystem to do it by ourselves. We need to be strongly connected to the society. So we are actively engaging with the governments and with the different institutions, including UK and US safety councils, to think about and discuss what kind of measures and governance structures we need to put in place. And lastly, and most importantly, we are also engaging with the public in events like that, like this, with the experts, with the people who use the technology to get their views. Now, we do all this because we understand that AI is part of the larger solution. And AI alone cannot do this, but AI can enable humans to do this. Climate change cannot be solved by a single person, single country, institutions, or government. Like Julia said, AI cannot solve climate change, but humans can. Like from my story of saving a few thousand of grey battle trees in the northern Finland, my colleagues who are developing solutions to save populations and millions of them. AI can scale up our efforts and make a really difference of our fight against the climate change. Thank you.